Somewhere right now, in a version of your life you haven't lived yet, there's a version of you who already did it, who already broke the cycle, who already became the person you keep promising yourself you'll be someday. And the only thing standing between you and that person is a lie you've been telling yourself for years. The lie that you need more time, more motivation, more confidence, more proof that it will work before you finally start. But nobody who ever built anything real was ever fully ready. They were just done waiting. And today, whether you like it or not, your waiting ends. Because here's what nobody explains to you about the mind. It doesn't actually want you to change, not because it hates you, but because change looks like risk. And risk looks like danger to a brain that was built for survival, not fulfillment. So every time you try to build something new, a habit, a business, a better version of yourself, your own mind quietly sabotages you, not with dramatic failure, but with small, comfortable distractions. One more scroll, one more day, one more excuse dressed up as logic, and you've mistaken that resistance for a sign that you're not cut out for this, when really it's just proof that you're finally standing at the edge of real growth. Because comfort never fights this hard to keep you unless you are about to outgrow it. So let this be the moment you stop confusing fear with a warning sign and start recognizing it for what it actually is. A signal that you're finally doing something that matters. The people you scroll past every day, the ones who seem to have it figured out. They didn't start with certainty. They started with one decision made on an uncertain, ordinary day, exactly like this one, and then they simply refused to go back to who they were before that decision. That's the entire secret. Not talent, not luck, not some rare gift you weren't given, just the refusal to return to the smaller version of yourself once you've seen what's possible. And here's the psychological truth that changes everything once you actually absorb it. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are simply operating on old evidence. Your brain built an identity years ago based on what you were told, what you experienced, what hurt you, and it has been protecting that identity ever since, even when that identity is the very thing keeping you stuck. Because your subconscious mind doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about consistency. It will fight to keep your outside life matching your inside beliefs, even if those beliefs were formed by a version of you who didn't know any better, a scared version, a rejected version, a version who was told to shrink so others could feel comfortable. But that version doesn't get to run your life anymore. You get to update the evidence starting today with one action so small it feels almost embarrassing. And that's exactly the point. Because transformation was never one dramatic leap. It was always 1,000 quiet decisions nobody else was there to witness. The version of you that you're chasing isn't waiting somewhere in the future. They're being built right now, in this exact moment, through the exact choice you make the second this ends. So here's what discipline actually is. Not punishment, not suffering, just self-respect, translated into action. It's the proof you give yourself daily that your word means something, and every time you follow through on a promise you made to no one but yourself. You make a deposit into a version of you that no longer needs convincing. A version who moves because moving is simply who they are now, not because they feel like it, not because the timing is perfect, because it never is. Timing only ever looks perfect after the risk already paid off. So stop waiting for the feeling of readiness that will never arrive on command, and start proving to yourself, quietly, without applause, without announcement, that you are someone who does the thing anyway. Because the moment you do, something inside you shifts permanently. You stop being someone who dreams about change and start being someone who simply is changed. And once that shift happens, there's no version of the old you left to go back to. Only forward, only the long, undeniable climb toward the life you were always capable of building. So decide right now, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, that today is the day your excuses finally stop working. Because the world doesn't remember the people who almost did something great. It remembers the ones who finally stopped waiting and simply began. And there is one more thing you need to hear before this ends, because most people quit not during the hardest moment, but right before the breakthrough, right when it feels like nothing is working, right when the results refuse to show up on schedule. That is not failure. That is the exact point where most people turn back, which means it is also the exact point where staying separates you from everyone who gave up one step too early. Growth is never visible while it is happening. Roots do not announce themselves before the tree breaks through the soil. They work in complete darkness for a long time before anything above ground proves they existed at all. So if right now your effort feels invisible, if nobody is clapping, if the progress feels too slow to matter, that is not proof you are failing. That is simply what growth looks like before anyone else can see it. Keep going anyway, not because someone is watching, but because you are becoming someone who does not need anyone watching in order to follow through.